I'm David Roger, General Counsel for Las Vegas Police Protective Association. You might recall at the beginning of the year we discussed a Nevada Supreme Court decision that held that officers are not entitled to qualified immunity under state law. The Nevada Supreme Court refused to recognize what they call a common law right to qualified immunity and kind of laid it off on the legislature. And so we went to the legislature. John Abel is our lobbyist up there. It was difficult to even find sponsors for the bills, but he eventually found a sponsor in both the Senate and the House to propose the bill. The senator over Judiciary, Melanie Scheibel, and the Assembly person who is over Assembly Judiciary refused to even hear our bills. So the bills that we had drafted didn't even make its way to the legislature. They just said, we're not hearing it, and that's their prerogative. And so today, you still don't have qualified immunity in state court. It's not the end of the world. There's no indication that Sheriff McMahill will refuse to provide you a defense. There's no indication that he will refuse to indemnify you or pay your judgment if there's a judgment issued against you in state court. But nevertheless, there is that possibility that some low-level attorney who will file a case just against you in state court based upon state law and try to get a judgment against you. Probably a case that won't go very far, but nevertheless, it's our obligation to fight and try to get qualified immunity for you. And I suspect that PPA will go back again in the next legislative session and continue fighting. But that is the bad news for today. Let's turn our attention to the legislature just in general. There is a lot of craziness going on up there. We've just reached a deadline where certain bills are required to be either passed out of the first committee or they die. And there was one bill that a legislature approached John Abel about, and this bill would prohibit you from stopping vehicles for not having license plates. You would have been prohibited from stopping vehicles for no registration. A lot of insanity going on up there, and there's a lot of horse trading. You now know that you can't stop people for jaywalking. This was a policy that Metro made. I don't know if this was kind of a trade-off to either get certain legislation passed or not introduce legislation, but nevertheless, your job is obviously becoming a lot more difficult. But we have a long way to go in the process. Bills that have been passed out of the first committee are now making its way to the floor. If it passes in that house, then it goes over to the other house. And so the House bills will go over to the Senate, and Senate bills will go over to the House. So we've got a long ways to go, and then ultimately it's up to the governor to decide whether to sign the bills. And so sometime in probably late June, first part of July, I'll circle back with you and we'll talk about the bills that have passed that directly affect you. But in the interim, keep your head up, keep doing what you do to protect our community. There are a lot of people, much like myself, who really appreciate what you do, and there is a lot of public support out there. It's just that some lawmakers don't have the same respect. But anyway, if you have any questions, please contact me at droger@lvppa.com, and please stay safe.
One 11, 110.